Hayley and I have been doing a lot of work out at Roseware. They're using the RSD specifically in small groups to try and enhance student engagement and learning. Hayley uses groups in a different way to what I do, so we'll run the workshop together, and I think that will add a little bit of a wider variety of how you can use them. So the title, From Little Things, Big Things Grow, from small groups and big questions, I think big changes in student learning grow. What do we really want students to do? The idea is that we want them to come into their learning and embark on a journey with the sort of excitement that little kids have in a park in autumn where they're playing in the leaves. We want them to be able to work at increasing levels of autonomy. We take the scaffolding away. And we want them to learn at a deeper level. We don't want them just to rote learn facts for an exam. We want them to be able to put them into context, think of the bigger picture, and also think in terms of ethical, social and cultural issues with a question. And that was the hook that initially got me interested in the RSD framework. When we talk about big questions, Hayley and I use a teaching method called team-based learning, and big questions really need to be significant. They need to be something important enough students invest in, they need to be authentic. You need to give them specific choices, not just leave it all open. Ideally, the same problem for all of them. And with team-based learning or whatever other form of assessment, you get them to simultaneously report, and that leads to a very rich discussion when they make different decisions. The example from my own course, I teach animal welfare, which is rich with cultural and ethical issues. The thing that students are currently working on is, should farrowing crates be banned? Farrowing crates are used in intensive piggeries to reduce piglets being squashed. You can see at the bottom, which is quite a factory, barren kind of environment versus what people would like to think pigs live in with grass and free range. So students are looking at all of the different ethical frameworks and the stakeholders, so the animals themselves, the consumers, the producers, and how they're impacted by the question. We work in groups because teamwork is an important graduate attribute at pretty much all universities. Also in large classes, we can't mark all of those individual reports, but it's better, I think, for students to work in groups because they actually learn more. Research suggests optimal group size is between 5 and 7. There's pretty solid research, and my own personal experience reinforces that. And also that the instructor should form a group and not let students form their own group and enhance diversity within that group. When you do that, particularly if you're looking at a controversial issue like how animals are treated, if there's diversity within the group, they've got different viewpoints. They talk amongst themselves, share their viewpoints, and it really adds to a much enhanced picture where they understand other viewpoints, and they've got to be better at articulating their own to back their own position. This is really hard to keep up with the time and see the slides. So when you add a significant problem, just the significant problem, if you don't have a significant problem, students in an assignment will still go through all those stages in the RSD. But if you add a significant problem that they're really invested in and is authentic and very complex, and you put them in a team, I think the net result is you get a very synergistic effect. So you can see the nice scaffolding with the children there. They're going way beyond just rote learning facts. They're putting together a whole lot of complex issues and reaching a decision. So from a little thing, so a complex problem, particularly if you get the students to make a decision. So earlier on with the 4 S's, when I talked about a specific choice, you give them a decision to make, like should farrowing crates be banned? I'm not asking them outline all of the advantages and disadvantages of farrowing crates. I'm saying, do you think they should be banned? And they've got to come up with that decision and then back it. So they really do have to think through all of the issues, and sometimes the teams don't agree, so they've got to reach consensus. So they come up with a view which includes the perspectives from all of the stakeholders, also all of the students within the team, and hopefully with an increased awareness when they use that framework that I put up with all of the stakeholders and all of the ethical frameworks to consider, where they are fully considering all of the ethical, social and cultural issues. So big social issues, if the producers have to change and some of the producers completely go out of business, if the price of food goes up, lots of implications. This is one of my favourite quotes about teaching, so from Biggs, that we're not just looking about students learning information in itself, but education is about conceptual change. And I think in the feedback that I get from students that go through this assignment, some of them come in with rose-coloured glasses about how animals are treated. Some of them come in thinking everything that's done is absolutely terrible and don't think of all of the implications of banning them. And their viewpoints really do change by the end of the assignment.
much of an introduction to the students did you give on this?
In the question itself or in working in the team?
Just the whole approach.
The whole approach is actually very scaffolded. So it's about 140 students in the class. Yeah. There are 3 to 4 teams per tutorial group, and I have tutors that do one-on-one with them pretty much every week in the tutorials, and they go through what they're doing in the assignment. I've got a producer, Australia-wide producer from the Forks CRC, who comes in and gives them the producer perspective, because that's the one that's harder for them to find evidence for. They do team-based learning in class, so they work in those same teams in class and also for their assignment. So the whole thing is quite scaffolded, their first years.